Hey y'all, I am back with another sponsored video. This one is about Corey Haim. He was a popular actor back in the 80s and early 90s. So let me just read a little bit about Corey before I get into his chart. So Corey Ian Haim, born December 23rd, 1971, and died March 10th, 2010, was a Canadian actor. He starred in a number of 1980s films such as Lucas, Silver Bullet, Murphy's Romance, License to Drive, and Dream a Little Dream. His role alongside Corey Feldman in The Lost Boys made him a household name. Known as the Two Coreys, the duo became 1980s icons and appeared together in 7 films, later starring in the A&E American reality show The Two Coreys. Haim's early success led to money and fame. He had difficulty breaking away from the trauma of his experience as a child actor and was troubled by drug addiction throughout his adult life. He died of pneumonia on March 10th, 2010. All right, so let me get into his chart. And I'll go back to this Wikipedia article briefly as I get into certain sections of his life. So this video has been sponsored by Justin. Thank you, Justin, for sponsoring this video. So Justin wants to know, you said Corey Haim. I want to know the real tea. Did Charlie Sheen really rape/molest Corey Haim? And is there any juicy stuff that we don't know about between Corey Haim and Corey Feldman? They damn near was in every movie together. And did he really die of an overdose? I like Corey Haim. He was before my time, though, but I really like some of his movies. I do believe he was a good person, just around negative influences in the Hollywood industry, of course. So here are your questions outlined. Did Charlie Sheen molest/rape Corey Haim? Number 2, is there any secrets, scandals, or juicy stuff regarding his friendship with Corey Feldman? And 3, did Corey really die of an overdose? So the official cause of death is pneumonia, but some people were also saying it was an overdose. So I'll get into that discrepancy. Okay, let's get into Corey Haim's numerology. So Corey Haim, birth number 23, that breaks down to 5. 23 results in being highly favored, which he was when he was young in Hollywood. Also, that made him a great communicator and being well-traveled and cultured. His life path number 26, that breaks down to 8. And with 26, one is prone to enter into partnerships that are subject to a remittance of karmic debt. So partnerships can be fraught with difficulty. So one has to be careful of who they partner up with when they're dealing with that 26. And other people could be the cause of one's downfall. So here's Corey Haim's chart. Unfortunately, I don't have his birth time, but you can still glean a lot of information from the planets and the signs and the aspects. So Corey Haim, sun at the 0 degree of Capricorn, that's the Aries point of Capricorn, which is very significant because it can produce events that are heavily fated and that are brought about through external factors. He had a stellium in Sagittarius consisting of his Jupiter, Mercury, and Neptune. Venus conjoined to the North Node in Aquarius, and that Venus is at the 0 degree of Aquarius. If you notice, Venus is forming a trine with Saturn, and that's dealing with his friendship with Corey Feldman. Saturn at the 0 degree of Gemini, that produces a twinning effect. And basically, he was best friends with his twin, with them having the same name. Moon in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, Chiron in Aries, South Node in Leo, Pluto in Libra, Uranus in Libra. So Corey had Sun in Capricorn square Pluto in Libra. So this is where he's being used and abused, being chewed up and spit out, being surrounded by older men who are sexual predators, with the Sun in Capricorn representing older men, not being respected. Life could be cut short when you have Sun square Pluto. Corruption of the spirit, demonic oppression, demonic attacks. Father not being a positive influence in his life, And this is representative of the movie Lucas, because that movie dealt with heartache and heartbreak, and Sun Square Pluto can produce that. He had Moon in Pisces squaring Mercury and Neptune in Sagittarius. And these squares represent his hardcore drug addiction and alcoholism. It says here, Haim asserted that the filming of License to Drive was his breaking point for becoming addicted to drugs. These squares are representing the movie License to Drive, but it's also representing how a film triggered his hardcore addiction. Potential for an overdose, excessive drug use, high tolerance, being victimized in Hollywood. Also, his mother not protecting him. So these squares are akin to being thrown to the wolves. And they are synonymous with the Silver Bullet movie that he starred in. And I watched this movie the other night. I watched a number of Corey Haim's movies over the past week while I was preparing for this video. So in the Silver Bullet movie, he plays a boy who's disabled. He's in a wheelchair, and he discovers that a werewolf is terrorizing his town, and he's determined to put a stop to it. So these squares are representing that movie, but also his mother not protecting him, being thrown to the wolves. And that Silver Bullet movie is about a werewolf. Also, this can produce a weak constitution, and where he was looking disheveled at times, such as in this picture right here. Also, these squares are an indicator for pneumonia, because pneumonia is about having fluid in the lungs. And that Moon in Pisces squaring Mercury in particular is fluid in the lungs, with Mercury representing the lungs. So this quote right here pertains to these squares as well. Los Angeles police initially stated that Haim's death appeared to be an accidental overdose. Bottles containing Valium, Vicodin, Soma, which is a muscle relaxant, and haloperidol, which is an antipsychotic, were retrieved. It emerged that Haim had used illegal aliases to procure over 553 prescription pills in the 32 days before his death, having a doctor shopped 7 different physicians and used 7 pharmacies to obtain the supply. The pills included 195 Valium, 149 Vicodin, 194 Soma, and 15 Xanax. So this quote is representing the excessive drug use and the potential for an overdose. And he did overdose a number of times, according to Corey Feldman and others. Moon in Pisces square Mercury and Neptune in Sagittarius. More about these squares. So these squares could cause him to feel better when he's high than when he's not high. And it's largely due to that Mercury in Sagittarius causing him to be too high strung. Mental health issues, paranoia, intrusive thoughts, being confused, misled, under the illusion, messing up his lines. Could have been when he was under the influence. Mom may not have believed him, or mom feigning ignorance as to what was going on. And she did deny some of the allegations of his sexual abuse. Happy-go-lucky demeanor was a facade for his sorrow. Basically, Corey Haim learned to act as if everything was okay. Someone outs his secrets, and this is Corey Feldman, but Corey Haim had outed his own secrets in the show The Two Coreys. Fluid in his lungs, pneumonia. So again, these squares are representing the pneumonia that he had, and which was the actual cause of death, as was reported on a website. So some people are believing that he died of a drug overdose. Other people are saying it was pneumonia. So again, these squares are representing the movie License to Drive, because in the movie, he lies about getting his license, and then all hell breaks loose when he takes his grandfather's car without permission and whatnot. That's a very good movie, by the way. Now, these squares are also represented by the movie Firstborn, which was the first movie that Corey Haim starred in. And Firstborn is a really good movie. I used to watch it a number of times when I was young. But basically, it's about a single mom who ends up getting with this dude that puts her on the drugs and alcohol and all this stuff, and she becomes an addict and she starts being neglectful. Sun in Capricorn squaring Mars in Pisces, being preyed upon by older men in Hollywood. A creep takes advantage of Corey's need for a father figure, sexual exploitation. Confusion regarding his sexuality due to relationship with the older man. Drug addiction gets in the way of his ability to work. Sexual yearnings that are not fulfilled. Also, this square is represented in the movie Dream a Little Dream. I could never really get into that movie. It's very surreal, but it's basically dealing with where he trades, well, Corey Feldman's character trades places with this older man. Lucas. So the movie Lucas is also represented by that, with the heartache that he experienced, his character experienced in the film. Sun in Capricorn, quincunx Saturn in Gemini. This can produce episodic depression, dropping out of school, or where he had an informal education, being in and out of work, developing a reputation for being unreliable, flaky, and scattered, being mentored by men who have a dual agenda, constriction of the lungs, labored breathing. So I'm going to read some more details of Corey Haim's life from this Wikipedia site. So it says, during the filming of The Lost Boys, Haim bonded with Corey Feldman as they stayed in the hotel watching movies and visited the local arcade. The two became best friends. Following the release of The Lost Boys, Haim visibly embraced the privileges of his newfound fame, becoming a regular at Alfie's Soda Pop Club, a private nightclub for underage actors at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. In February 1993, Michael Bass reported to police that Haim had threatened him during an argument. Haim was arrested. According to Haim's publicist at the time, he was shooting BB guns at a target in his backyard while trying to fire Bass, who was refused to accept that he was being let go. Initially investigated as a terrorist threat, a felony, Haim's charge was downgraded to a misdemeanor of exhibiting a replica handgun in a threatening manner. Feldman posted Haim's $250 bail. By late July 2008, Haim had become destitute and homeless in Los Angeles. He was taken in by singer-songwriter G. Tom Mack, who wrote Cry Little Sister for the Lost Boys soundtrack. They developed an idea for a reality show called Lost Boy Found, documenting Haim's addiction and recovery through music at Mack's studio, where he had been given a place to stay. Despite their close bond in their early years of fame, Haim and Feldman had a number of disagreements in Haim's later years. Many of these disputes occurred due to Haim's drug use, which was documented in the reality series The Two Coreys. Before his death, Haim reconciled with Feldman off camera. The two were spending time together developing a sequel to License to Drive called License to Fly, a project of Haim's conception. Substance abuse. Haim struggled with substance abuse for most of his life. He was already drinking beer in his early teens on the set of Lucas in 1985, and a year later he tried marijuana on the set of The Lost Boys. Haim asserted that the filming of License to Drive was his breaking point for becoming addicted to drugs. On his return from a Hawaiian family vacation in May 1989, Haim told the press that he had been clean for a month after going cold turkey without the help of a substance abuse program. Fellow Lost Boys actor Brooke McCarter began managing him in an effort to keep him clean. McCarter was dating Oscar winner producer Julia Phillips, who termed the assignment babysitting. In her memoir, Phillips recalled Haim's asking her permission to take out her daughter and the moral conflict she experienced while smoking marijuana in front of him, saying, mixed feelings about Corey, love him, detest him too, or at least the manipulative part that knew how to make people twice his age snap to. Are you really only 18? Who writes your dialogue? During the filming of Without Malice, Haim would reportedly halt production to call Toronto and check if his dog was dead, and sudden medical incidents required the filling of emergency prescriptions. By 2001, Haim had sought rehabilitation 15 times for his drug addiction. That's his Mars and Pisces opposition Pluto and Libra. He spent time in rehabilitation and was placed on prescription medication, which he began to abuse. On August 10, 2001, his mother found him unconscious at his Los Angeles bungalow. He was rushed to the UCLA Medical Center where doctors managed to stabilize him. 2 weeks later, from July 23, 2001, Haim had spent some time in Sherman Oaks Hospital. Feldman said of Haim, he made so many attempts at suicide. He OD'd so many times. I mean, I can't begin to tell you, having him foaming at the mouth, coming downstairs and finding him that way and drooling and not being able to speak. And me having to put charcoal down his throat so that he could breathe. Haim stated that at one point he did not leave his apartment for 3.5 years and ballooned from 150 to 302 pounds. By 2004, Haim appeared to have overcome his drug habit after his mother persuaded him to return to Toronto with her and resettled there. Feldman avowed that he would no longer speak to Haim until he got clean. On the two Corys, Feldman and his wife, along with two other former teen stars, called on Haim in an effort to get him to admit he needed help. Feldman added that he did not consider Haim to be a safe person to have around my wife and child at the moment. After his falling out with Feldman, Haim had a car accident while under the influence and walked out for good on the show's therapist. Publicly severing his ties with Haim, Feldman stated, "I'm not going to watch him destroy himself." On the advice of his lawyer, Haim went to a physician in California with the goal of sticking to a program to wean off pills without multiple doctors in order to demonstrate that he was working toward getting clean. Haim's agent stated that the doctor was reluctant to drop Haim from his current level to 0 pills, fearing a seizure, and took him to an addiction specialist to get mental help. Shoot, you never know. Could have been his agent supplying him with drugs. Haim's never married or had any children. He was involved with Who's the Boss actress Alyssa Milano from 1987 to 1990. Milano and her parents, together with his manager at the time, unsuccessfully tried to get Haim help for his addiction. Lala Sloatman co-starred with Haim in Watchers and Dream a Little Dream, and they dated on and off for 2 years at the peak of his fame. Haim was engaged to Baywatch actress Nicole Eggert, with whom he starred in Blown Away and Just One of the Girls. Eggert is credited with helping to save Haim's life at least once by taking him to hospital to detox during a narcotic rush. Eggert once said, "I spent a lot of nights in emergency rooms with him. I don't think that I saved his life. I just think I was there for him." Haim was briefly engaged to actress Holly Fields in 1996 and to model Cindy Geyer in 2000. Haim has had a year-long relationship with actress Tiffany Shepis. In October 2008, he was stated that the two were engaged and due to marry on May 9th, 2009. Mars and Pisces opposition Pluto in Libra. So this is representative of the Lost Boys movie, and that's a really good movie, but the theme is kind of sketchy because it's dealing with young boys and then this older man who's like the head of the vampires and all that stuff. But the fact that this movie is about vampires, it's very much dealing with Mars and Pisces opposition Pluto in Libra. And also the movie Silver Bullet as well, because it was dealing with this man that would transform into a werewolf, being preyed upon, being threatened or perceived threats. He was very familiar with rejection, starting with just being rejected for certain film roles, going to a number of auditions and being rejected, but also his sexual advances being rejected by Corey Feldman in particular. Being confused about relationships, being stuck in a dark corridor of drug addiction results in being excluded from Hollywood. Also, this quote is pertaining to this opposition. California Attorney General Jerry Brown announced that his office was investigating Haim's death, saying an unauthorized prescription in his name had been found among fraudulent prescription pads ordered from San Diego. On March 17, 2010, Brown announced that an arrest was made in connection with the investigation, which involved doctor identity theft and up to 5,000 illegal prescriptions. While detailed information was not released, officials stated that Haim had obtained OxyContin via a prescription drug ring. Records show he had received thousands of pills over the last years of his life, using physicians at offices, urgent care facilities, and emergency rooms. Also, this points to him going into drug rehab. So, according to his friends, he went into drug rehab a number of times, being stuck in a dark corridor of sex addiction. Here, Corey Haim is with Corey Feldman and the other actor that was in The Lost Boys. Saturn and Gemini opposition Neptune in Sagittarius. Being in a drug-induced trance, forgetting or screwing up his lines, being out of work for long periods of time due to addictions, but also due to being older, perhaps, lungs flooded with fluid, scandalous news stories. So this opposition is also contributing to the pneumonia, with that Saturn and Gemini representing lungs and the Neptune representing fluid. License to drive. So this opposition is another aspect that is representative of the movie License to Drive, with Saturn and Gemini representing his grandfather's car in the movie and how he basically stole it. Dream a Little Dream. Reality show, The Two Coreys. So that movie Dream a Little Dream is dealing with this opposition as well, and the reality show The Two Coreys. Venus in Aquarius conjoined to the North Node, opposition South Node in Leo. So the lines are blurred between friendship and love and romance, because Corey Haim, according to Corey Feldman, tried to get a romantic relationship started with Corey Feldman, but Corey wasn't having it. His failed attempts to start a romantic affair with Feldman. Being surrounded by perverts due to being an actor, unfortunately, it comes with the territory. Being gay by default. So the word by default, the term, the official definition means it happens only because something else which might have prevented it or changed it has not happened. So basically, Corey Haim became homosexual, or you could say bisexual, through his first relationship, which was with an older male who violated him. So I don't think he would have been attracted to men if it had not been for that first relationship. He could have also been gay for pay. So Corey Haim was dealing with some serious financial issues. There was even someone who said that he was begging him for some money so that he could get some food at one point. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was prostituting himself in order to get drugs or just to get money. Chiron and Aries opposition Pluto and Libra. This opposition can produce an identity crisis, also being preyed upon, being trapped in a dark corridor of sexual predation, facing threats, legal problems, being sued, could be due to not honoring contracts, rejection, especially due to Corey being difficult to work with, challenges with forming close bonds with people. That's a burning bridges aspect as well. Jupiter in Sagittarius, sesqui-square Leo South Node. Papa was a rolling stone. Basically, this is dealing with his father that wasn't in his life. The Leo South Node representing fathers. A lot of people with Leo South Nodes do have challenges with their father. Love was a foreign concept to him. Excessive partying. Competing with comedian Sam Kinison, who he befriended, to see how much coke they could do and who could stay awake the longest. Couldn't get enough sex, according to Corey Feldman. Also, this sesqui-square can produce heart trouble, could have had an enlarged heart or high blood pressure. And according to the coroner's report, he did have some heart, he did have a serious heart condition. So here he is with Corey Feldman, and is that Heather Graham? I forget her name. But anyway, that's from the movie License to Drive. And this Mercury conjoined to Shiva is dealing with this License to Drive movie, because Shiva is an asteroid that deals with destruction. And the car that he was driving was totally destroyed in the movie. But he also destroyed a car when he got into an accident when he was under the influence at one point. So that movie License to Drive is dealing with this conjunction, but also the other accident he got in. Mars opposition Cupido, being groomed by a man in Hollywood, with Mars being in Pisces representing a man in Hollywood, and Cupido in Virgo is the grooming. Mercury conjunct Pandora, Corey Feldman's book, and later documentary that spilled Corey Haim's tea. But Corey Haim had came out in the Two Corys reality show and basically said that he was raped when he was young. Venus conjunct Salacia, salacious partnerships. Saturn conjunct Sappho, North Node parallel Sappho. This is representative of the older gay man that duped him into believing that man-boy love was normal. Mars parallel the asteroid Diana. Diana's at the 16th degree of Pisces. Pisces rules drugs, especially that 16th degree. So this is representative of Corey Haim being on the hunt for drugs, being hunted by men in Hollywood as well, though. And perhaps he hired a headhunter at some point to try to get roles. South Node could join the Panacea. Panacea is an asteroid that deals with a cure or a remedy. And with that South Node in Leo, basically he believed that romance or partying is the cure-all for what ails him, but can also point to the heart condition that he had. Chiron contra parallel Arachne. Arachne at the first degree of Pisces, drugs. Being caught up in a web of lies, sexual victimization. This is also representative of the drug ring and Hollywood circles. Officials stated that Haim had obtained Oxycontin via a prescription drug ring. Saturn contra parallel Vesta. So this makes me think that he may have been a gay prostitute for a while, maybe to support his addiction, being made into a prostitute by an older male friend, perhaps. North Node parallel Nike. So when I saw this aspect, I was like, okay, there must be a film out there where he has some Nike sneakers on and they're prominently displayed in the film. So when I watched License to Drive last week, I was cracking up when I saw in the first scene that Corey Haim is wearing Nikes and that they're prominently featured in the beginning of the movie as he's trying to remove the shackle from his ankle because he's having this bad dream of being chained to a school bus. So the fact that Nike is in Sagittarius is representative of him trying to break free, but also that this was a promotional tactic, basically promoting Nike shoes. Sexual abuse allegations. In an episode of the Two Corys, Haim told Feldman that he had been sexually abused at the age of 14 by one of Feldman's acquaintances. Declining to identify his molester, a 42-year-old man, Haim said that the abuse had continued for 2 years with Feldman's knowledge. The disclosure led to a further rift between Haim and Feldman, and the show continued to expose the darker side of the lives as teen stars. In 2011, after Haim's death, Feldman stated that a Hollywood mogul who abused Haim was blamed for his death. Feldman's 2013 memoir, Choreography, stated that he and Haim suffered sexual abuse as young actors in the film industry. Feldman stated that during the filming of Lucas, Haim had been tricked into engaging in a painful session of anal sex by a man on the movie set. The man had told Haim that sex between men and boys was normal in Hollywood. Feldman reported that after this experience, Haim suggested that he and Feldman engage in sex, and Feldman declined. In 2016, Judy Haim threatened to sue Feldman. Haim claimed that many of his statements were false and added that Feldman was looking for attention and money. In 2017, Judy Haim again spoke out against Feldman, who was seeking $10 million to make a documentary exposing those who had allegedly sexually abused him and her son. Judy Haim referred to Feldman as a scam artist. In a 2017 interview from the National Enquirer, actor Dominic Brascia alleged that Charlie Sheen was the person who had raped Haim on the set of Lucas. Sheen was 19 at the time, while Haim was 13. Sheen denied these allegations and filed a lawsuit against the National Enquirer that was settled in 2018. In a 2017 interview on the Dr. Oz show, Judy Haim denied that Charlie Sheen was sexually involved with her son and accused Brascia, who died in 2018, of having sexually abused him. In March 2020, Feldman's documentary, My Truth, The Rape of Two Coreys, was released. Feldman alleged that Sheen had raped Haim and added that Haim had described the incident in graphic detail. These claims were backed up by the documentary by Jameson Newlander, Haim's friend and co-star in The Lost Boys, and Feldman's ex-wife Susie Sprague. Feldman accused Brascia of having sexually abused Haim as well. Feldman also spoke out against Judy Haim's attacks on credibility. Remember, I said that's his moon in Pisces, square in Mercury, and Neptune in Sagittarius. Mom basically feigning ignorance or not believing the allegation. Sheen's publicist denied the abuse allegations. So let's get into Charlie Sheen and Corey Haim's synastry, some of the aspects that confirm the allegations that Charlie Sheen sexually assaulted Corey Haim. So Charlie's Mars and Scorpio, and Mars and Scorpio alone can produce someone that is a rapist. So I'm not going to say everybody with Mars and Scorpio, but the potential is there. So Charlie's Mars and Scorpio squaring Corey's nodes. Charlie could have very well sexually violated Corey with these squares. So this is the confirmation right here. Charlie corrupted the friendship he had with Corey. Charlie used Corey's need for love and attention to satisfy his sexual urges. Charlie may have avoided Corey after he violated him. Charlie's Mars and Scorpio quincunx Corey's Chiron and Aries. This can represent sexual abuse or assault that was ongoing due to the nature of the quincunx. Charlie being able to manipulate Corey by touching his sore spots. Charlie's Uranus and Pluto in Virgo opposing Corey's moon in Pisces. Working with Charlie put Corey in a vulnerable position. Charlie's sexual perversion results in Corey's victimization. And you can look at this as a grooming aspect because of the Virgo influence. So another aspect, Charlie's Saturn in Pisces squaring Mercury in Sagittarius, squaring Corey Haim's Mercury in Sagittarius. Charlie exploiting Corey's friendly, giving, and easygoing manner by playing a Hollywood mentorship role towards him. Charlie could have supplied drugs to Corey. Silencing Corey. Charlie could have told Corey that no one would believe him if he told anyone the truth. Charlie also claimed slander when these allegations came out. And he actually sued the National Enquirer. So let's talk about Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, some of the aspects in their synastry. So Haim's Venus in Aquarius opposing Feldman's Sun in Cancer. Haim's attempts to start a homosexual relationship with Feldman fails due to his desire for women. Haim's North Node in Aquarius squaring Feldman's moon in Taurus. Feldman needing to be normal, which is represented by Feldman's moon in Taurus, clashes with Haim's gay exploration. Feldman having to explain to Haim that the relationship with the older gay man was not normal. Haim's Mars in Pisces opposing Feldman's Pluto in Virgo. Feldman exposing Haim's secrets, Feldman rejecting Haim's sexual advances, and avoiding him. So it says here, Feldman avowed that he would no longer speak to Haim until he got clean. Haim's Uranus and Libra squaring Feldman's Venus in Cancer. Haim shocking Feldman with his relationship with the gay man. So when Corey Haim first met Corey Feldman, Corey Haim told Feldman about his relationship with the older gay man. And he was saying, well, I guess that means that we need to get something going. So Corey Feldman said he was shocked about Corey Haim's, advances towards him and him believing that relationship he had with the older gay male was normal and appropriate. Also, Haim was an upsetting, disruptive, and destructive force in Feldman's life, resulting in a separation. Haim's Chiron and Aries squaring Feldman's Venus in Cancer. Feldman's inability to identify with Haim due to Feldman's attraction to women, which is represented by Feldman's Venus in Cancer. Also on the two Corys, Feldman and his wife, along with two other former teen stars, called on Haim in an effort to get him to admit he needed help. Feldman added that he did not consider Haim to be a safe person to be around my wife and child at the moment. Publicly severing his ties with Haim, Feldman stated, I am not going to watch him destroy himself. Now let's get into some of Corey Haim's death transits. Transiting Saturn conjunct Pluto in Libra. This could represent kidney failure, which obviously took place once his system started shutting down, but it also represents the police investigation. The transiting nodes squaring Corey Haim's Uranus in Libra. The authorities intervened due to his associations. Represents his need for his mother to lay down next to him. So on the day that Corey Haim died, his mother said that he called out for her and was asking her to lay down with him because he didn't feel well. Also, this quote is represented by the transit of the node squaring his Uranus. A private Jewish funeral ceremony for Haim took place on March 16, 2010 at Stills Memorial Chapel in Thornhill, Ontario. Both of Haim's parents attended. Along with 200 friends and family, a dozen fans waited outside. In an open letter written to Haim on that day, Corey Feldman stated his wish to stay away from the funeral to minimize publicity for the family. He said, I always feared this day would come. Transiting Jupiter in Pisces, squaring his Mercury in Sagittarius. Basically, this is representing the pneumonia, his lungs being full of fluid, the walking pneumonia. But also this shows that he was at risk of relapsing or even overdosing. Feeling overwhelmed, and it could have been due to feeling overwhelmed with a strong urge to take a lot of drugs. Experiencing dizziness, vertigo. Fainting, losing consciousness. So Corey Haim's mother said that on the day that he died, he got up out of bed and walked a few steps and fell out. Transiting Uranus conjunct Mars in Pisces could represent a friend or associate who was still supplying him with drugs, might have even been his own agent with Corey Haim's Uranus being in Libra. But this is about transiting Uranus conjoined to his Mars in Pisces, but could have also represented a drastic change in terms of his behavior or level of self-determination. The donation from the organization and auction of items on eBay. A $20,000 contribution was made by a memorabilia site to which Haim had sold items over the years, but the company later canceled the check after it emerged that the funeral home had stepped in to cover the costs from the outset. Haim's personal effects were put up for auction on eBay by a cast member from A Time to Live, whose listings claimed that the family had asked him to sell the items as they needed money for burial expenses. Transiting Jupiter conjoined to his moon in Pisces. This put him at risk of relapsing. It basically produced strong, overwhelming cravings for drugs. It also put him at risk for overdosing. So again, it emerged that Haim had used illegal aliases to procure over 553 prescription pills in the 32 days before his death. This is also dealing with that transit Uranus conjoined to his Mars. Having doctors shopped 7 different physicians and used 7 pharmacies to obtain the supply. The pills included 195 Valium, 149 Vicodin, 194 Soma, and 15 Xanax. On March 25th, 2010, approximately 20 doctors were subpoenaed in connection with Haim's case. Haim had claimed to each that he was not seeing any other doctors, and many reported feeling duped by him. Attorney General Brown called Haim the poster child for prescription drug addiction. On May 4th, 2010, the LA County Coroner's Office autopsy report revealed that Haim died of diffuse alveolar damage and pneumonia, together with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and coronary arteriosclerosis. The death was ruled a natural death. So again, Corey Haim had aspects in his natal chart that dealt with the potential for him to suffer from pneumonia. That was his moon in Pisces squaring Mercury and Neptune in Sagittarius, also Saturn and Gemini opposing Neptune in Sagittarius, but also with the heart, that's his Jupiter, sesqui-square Leo South Node. And also the Leo South Node could join the Panacea. As to the question of whether drugs were involved, the coroner stated the toxicology report revealed no significant contributing factor. Before the autopsy report was released publicly, Haim's mother stated that the coroner had given her a courtesy call to state his preliminary findings that Haim died of pulmonary edema and was suffering from an enlarged heart and water in the lungs. And remember that Jupiter sesqui-square South Node in Leo, that's the enlarged heart. So Haim's death certificate lists diffuse alveolar damage and community-acquired pneumonia as causes of death, with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, with coronary arteriosclerosis listed as other conditions contributing, but not related to the immediate cause of death. So to answer your question, Justin, it looks like he really did die of pneumonia and also that serious heart condition instead of the overdose. But it looked like he was heading towards the overdose with the transits in his chart. So I decided to pull a tarot card to see what the cause of Corey's death was, to see if it was an overdose or if it was more so dealing with natural causes brought about by the pneumonia and the heart disease. So I got the Magician. So that's showing that it was not an overdose and basically his system shut down. The Magician is very much about one's vitality, and it's basically showing that his vitality was at a serious low, which led to his death. The Magician is also a Mercury card, and Mercury rules the lungs. So the whole pneumonia thing comes into play with this card as well. So that concludes my video on Corey Haim. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll be back with some more sponsored videos, as well as some videos dealing with the current events that have been taking place. All right, peace, love, and happiness.